watching Real Talk with Bob Mars.
Hello, Sterile Processing Universe, and welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Bob Mars. As we've been discussing, we're going to cover topics from the time the instruments leave the operating room until the time they make it through your entire process and go back to the operating room. So in doing that, our last episode, we talked about point of use cleaning. This episode, we're going to talk about what happens after point of use cleaning and the time that your instruments make it downstairs to your decontamination area or over to your decontamination area. And before I get started, I just want to remind everybody, and most of you know this, but some don't. Your decontamination room is the dirtiest, may I even say the filthiest room in your entire hospital. The stuff that goes down there and the stuff that goes on in that department is just gross. So anyone entering this department must have on PPE. I don't care who it is. If it's the operating room staff, if it's facilities engineers, bioengineering, whoever it may be, anybody entering that room must have full PPE on, and they're doing it for their protection. When you think about PPE, we say this over and over again, PPE, PPE. Makes me think of a song. Let's talk about PPE. Maybe not that song, but let's get serious, really. Make sure your staff are wearing the appropriate PPE when they enter the room. Did you know you're doing this in accordance with OSHA's Bloodborne Pathogens Standard 29 CFR 1910.1030? And in this document, they explain to you what you should wear, but also they explain that you should have a plan in place in your facility for exposure of your staff should something happen. So make sure that you're following this. This is a hot button for the surveyors, I can assure you. So let's talk about PPE a little bit. What is it and why wear it? Again, we're wearing PPE to keep ourselves safe while we're in this room. Not only keeping ourselves safe, we're keeping our coworkers safe, we're keeping our families safe, making sure we're not taking this grossness home to our families. So PPE has always got to be worn. And when we say PPE, we mean utility gloves that are fitted at the wrist, liquid-resistant gown and sleeves, a liquid-resistant shoe cover that's going to protect your feet, fluid-resistant mask and eye protection, and then finally, eye protection, which may include goggles or a full-length face shield. And it's very important to understand, again, that you're wearing all of this equipment appropriately so you're keeping yourself safe. I can't tell you how many times I go into the decontamination area and I find folks either not wearing PPE or they're wearing their PPE improperly. And anybody who spent 5 minutes in decontamination understands completely it gets hot over there, right? So often I'll walk into the department and I'll see the person working away at the sink, scrubbing away at instruments under the surface of the water so that they don't create an aerosol. But we all know that aerosol gets created, and they have their mask on that should be covering their nose. But often I find that mask down here so they can breathe a little easier and they're not so hot. Not the way to wear your mask. You need to make sure that when you're wearing PPE, you're wearing it appropriately. And here's an interesting tidbit. Did you know that the CDC has guidelines for donning or putting on your PPE or doffing, taking off your PPE? And here's what a lot of folks don't know. The standards say when donning or putting on your PPE, it takes 8 steps. But when you're doffing or taking off your PPE, it's 13 steps. And you've got to make sure you're doing it appropriately so you're not contaminating yourself as you're taking it off. And I'm not talking about like Austin Powers, who might grab the front and rip it all off and it's gone.
Austin Powers. Danger's my middle name.
You have to make sure you're taking it off appropriately and that you're wearing it appropriately. Remember, it's all about safety, folks. We've got to stay safe and we've got to stay healthy if we're going to do our job right. This is Real Talk, and I'm Bob Mars.